been a while. So if you don't remember, I'm your host, Tania. I'm a lifelong, highly online girly, and this is the most interesting people on my timeline. It's a series dedicated to exploring the digital space and how it affects the lives and work of my most interesting online friends. If you're not new here, thank you for coming back. You're truly an icon for that. And as always, you can listen to all episodes anywhere you get your podcasts, as well as watch a visual version on Spotify and YouTube if that's more your thing. And you can find links to all of this and more information in the description box of whatever platform you're listening on, as well as timestamps. But also make sure to visit taniadoes.com/interestingpeople for episode recaps, and check out our new hub for our supporters, buymeacoffee.com/taniadoes. Each membership tier gets you a different goodie, so make sure to check that out. This is going to be the first special episode of the series. There's really no interview component or anything. It's just a conversation that I had with one of my friends that I wanted to share with y'all. Today's episode features my partner in crime, Karla Chavez, and we listen back to the podcast episode that I did with Vicky Matey from Shoutout podcast a few months ago. And in that episode with Vicky, I discussed Karla and I's friendship and our journey together at Harvard while being DACA girlies. And so this episode, Karla and I just kind of react to it, kind of recap on it, and share a little bit more of our lore together. As y'all should know, Vicky was our last guest on the pod, so if you haven't listened to the episode we did with her or the interview that she did with me on her podcast, you should go check those out. They'll be linked in the description box. But anyways, welcome to this episode of the most interesting people on my timeline. Let me introduce you to Karla.
Hi, I'm Karla. I am the other person that Tania talks about in this podcast, and yeah, I think that's basically me right now.
That's all you
Not
got going
doing.
on.
I don't do much right now.
Okay, so she called the episode Tania Does a Lot because of Tania Does, my app, my username, and then just because I do a lot. So, you get it. And then, we just talked about some stuff. Shout Out Truth podcast, freaking love it. Vicky Matey, like I said, I met Vicky in person when we were in Europe.
Let me read the episode description. This girl was meant to be a star. I mean, come on, look at her. That's funny.
Girl, why is it funny?
What's funny though? I don't know the way they framed it. I don't know. It's like, yeah, she's undocumented shit, but look at her. She's meant to be a star.
Well, yeah. Oh, and then you were mentioned in the special shout outs along with Maggie Loredo, who is with Otros Dreams in Acción. They're basically like a group in Mexico, and they help out people who have returned or self-deported or were deported. And they help them out, try to get visas and stuff, or just reacclimate, essentially, and just provide support. And then Nicole she's one of my coworkers with the collective. And they had both been on podcasts on episodes of this podcast, but that's essentially what it is. And a note to anyone listening, Karla is not a social media girl. Whereas I'm on everything, Karla is on nothing. So it is a very fun, I don't think you know what most of my job is, at all.
Yeah, I don't have social media.
I don't know her.
Don't you know her? No, wait.
Do you still use Snapchat?
I deleted it. I deleted it a couple years ago.
Me too. I feel like I grew out of Snapchat. I wish I was still in that. I do re-download it sometimes when I'm back home because it's just really funny to see. A lot of the locals are still on Snapchat. A lot of the Roswell locals are still on Snapchat, I will say. But other than that, I don't really use it. But you're a Facebook girl, aren't you?
That's only because of the videos. Cause I'm not on TikTok either, so I'm only on there for the videos. I do get it. I get the TikTok content filtered through, and it takes months to get to Facebook, but it's okay. I don't really mind.
What was it that we were talking about? And you sent the TikTok, we were like, girl, you've been late. What is this?
It was one of the chilaquile videos, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. And it actually ended up being that he's been famous for a while.
Yeah, you were you had just found out about chilaquil last month.
Yeah, I literally just found out about it. But it's cute.
And I want to ask you, like, what is a core memory from the Europe trip that we experienced together?
They're always going to be like the same two, which I think one was the sunset boat in Lisbon. And then the night we went to the speakeasies, but specifically the one that was a grocery store, and you put a little couscous box and there's like a speakeasy behind it. Cause I felt like you and I really had like the core memory, like conversations there built up from like the rest of the trip.
Did you come back? Did you go back and forth between like when the program ended and then like when you guys met up? Like the rest of the gang met up?
So it was literally, so the fellowship was just to Lisbon and to Paris, and then we could go wherever we wanted to after that as part of like independent ethnographic research. So I went after Paris, I went to London by myself for a couple days, and then I took the train down to Rome where I met up with our friend Lisette. And then Lisette and I flew out of Rome and met everyone up in Barcelona. So we met up with Araceli, Jessica, and Jesus. From Barcelona, we went back to Lisbon. Then we went back to Paris. We ended there, and then I went to Mexico.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a lot. I don't think I talked about that on the podcast, like the whole trip, but that was fun.
Yeah, that's a lot though. Like it's a lot of moving.
Yeah, that's why literally, and after that, I didn't stop. Like, oh, I do talk about it a little bit. I didn't stop after that for a while, but I feel like a fun fact here is that Paris, we met in French class, so that's a fun little full circle moment. Not really. We've never gone to Paris together, but did we meet? Didn't we meet in
I
French
do
class?
wanna. I don't know. I might have been orchestra class, honestly. No,
We
I think it might have been orchestra class.
perhaps we had both
I mean,
classes,
it was
so who
yeah,
knows?
we might have had the same classes. But I do want to say that I didn't go on this trip because literally the day that you flew out to Paris, or I don't remember, I also was getting on a trip to come back from a month-long trip in Europe. And
I feel like we crossed each other, like our planes crossed paths.
I think you were in Lisbon, right? The first day that you got there, like you landed in Lisbon and then, or you
Yeah, I
landed
landed in Lisbon the 29th, and I think you flew out of Paris the 28th or something.
yeah, I think, yeah, it was something like that. So I just want to point out no haters.
Yeah, we were gonna meet up, but
Yeah, it just didn't work out.
you didn't.
I didn't have the money. Let's be honest.
Period. Because you had been in what, in Florence or no, in Tuscany, no?
Yeah, we were in Tuscany for like 3 weeks and then a week in Rome. And it was I was honestly I was tired. I want to come back. It was too much. Like I like pasta and all, but like like I just want to come back.
I love pasta. I love the pasta in Italy. I love it.
I want to ask you, what did you want to be when you were a kid?
As a kid, if you would ask me when I was like 2, 3 years old, I would have said like singer, just off the bat, because I was always singing. Like my dad would give me little karaoke machines with a little tape in it. So that was like what I wanted to be for so long. And yeah,
Okay, I thought you wanted to be a dentist.
okay, I think I wanted to be a dentist like for like a month in like sixth grade.
Girl, you made that a big deal one time.
Yeah, because I
You were
really
like,
thought I had found my calling to be a dentist. And then I realized I didn't want my hands in people's mouths like that. But for like
oh,
a whole month, I was so serious. It was like, oh, I'm gonna be the best dentist. I'm gonna be such a good dentist. And that only happened because I really like going to the dentist.
oh, I feel like that's you're one of the only people that likes that.
That was just me. But yeah, I did want to be a dentist like in sixth grade. But also, let's not forget that you fed into my delusion of wanting to be a singer and a writer, like musician, because I actually have this still in my closet back home. One, I don't know,
Oh
it
yeah, yeah, yeah.
was like a birthday gift. You got me this like record, and it was the most Ray done ass shit. Like it said like music is what feelings sound like. And then you had me sign the
Yeah, because it looked like a record. It looked like a record player or like
yeah,
whatever one.
or like when people win like gold records and stuff. That's what
Yeah, yeah.
um
It's so
anyways, get
funny.
into that delusion. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's so funny, though.
When I was a teenager too, it became very serious because I was very invested in like Tumblr culture and like emo pop punk scene culture. And I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be me. I'm gonna be the next Never Shout Never. Do you remember my emo phase?
I mean, I remember. I mean, like, I feel like it's still going on.
Anyways, yeah, I think
I
so
don't
too.
think it stopped. I don't think it stopped.
I mean, I stopped putting on eyeliner on my bottom waterline, but that's and like my hair part isn't as
Is
deep.
that what that is? Is like, is that what people do? They put like.
Yeah, like
Put
all
it.
under your waterline. That was like my signature look for a while. Plus, like my hair part was like from here to here. Because I wanted to be like this one girl, this one Tumblr girl. She wasn't a Tumblr girl, but her picture was on Tumblr a lot. And she was a musician called Lights, and she had a deep ass side part. The deepest of side parts. That's what I look like. Anyways.
That's funny.
I was still singing. I sang with a group on campus. It was called 21 Colorful Crimson.
You're laughing, but tell me that wasn't iconic. Tell me 21cc was not iconic.
It wasn't. It really wasn't. It was so bad. It was
What do
so
you
bad.
I don't think we were bad. I just think that
It was bad.
I
It was
just
pretty
think that our
bad.
music wasn't like it was like beginning songwriting, like pop music. I don't think it was bad. Because it wasn't bad because if you remember, Comfort, my roommate from college, she loved 21cc's music.
I
And
remember we actually had this conversation with Jesus last time I saw him, because he was like, "Do you remember when like they opened at Yard Fest or whatever it was called?" And we all were like, I was like, "Yeah," and then like Comfort was the only one singing along. Like, yeah, she was really a true fan. And I was like, "Yeah, I think she was the only one singing along because I didn't know anyone else that knew the lyrics."
she was iconic for that because that song was good. It's called How You Gonna Hate by 21cc. It's on Spot. It's our only song on Spotify. And then I think, oh, do you remember when we like we had a song that was just like me and all the other Latinis, and we debuted it at that one party that they threw?
Yeah, what happened to that song?
It was never released because I feel like it kind of died down after that. We never got to like record it properly, but we had released it and played it at this party, and that was like a release. Like everybody was there, like everybody from 21cc was there, and there was this. I remember we were so excited to hear it at this party, and there was this one girl who was singing along to it, and I didn't know her. Like I don't know who she was or anything, but she was singing along to it, and I remember turning to her and screaming like, "How do you know the lyrics? This song just came out."
No.
When we were having a conversation, you brought up this. It was like one sentence, but it told like a huge story, right? And that was that your family did what they had to do, sacrificed what they had to be able to have internet at home for y'all.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I mentioned, like I was very big into like the Tumblr scene and like all like these fandoms online, and that's because like growing up, like I said, like my family, we were eating rice and beans. Like I was sharing a room with my little brother. Like we didn't have that much, but they always made sure we had cable and internet, even if we were eating like rice and beans and like huevo every day. Like they wanted us to be entertained. So I approach that and I see that as like I'm so grateful. It might seem so silly, but like I think it's just like being undocumented and sometimes not feeling like you have either enough money or like the opportunity to travel or do a lot of stuff. I think like we were able to kind of like imagine that through watching movies together, or like being online. At least they were like, okay, at least she's doing something like productive, or like she's entertained while we work.
No, that's not true because I mean, like, we did not have cable growing up. We barely had internet, but it's so true when you told me that. And then we were like, yeah, like we also go to Disney every
Oh yeah,
every other year just to be entertained. It doesn't matter how bad we're doing, but we need to go to Disney and we need our internet and our cable.
no, literally because like we both grew up like kind of like the same, right? Like
Yeah.
the apartment, like we grew up in an apartment complex, like different apartment complexes, but there's like such a vibe of like people would be like, "Oh, you have cable, you must be rich." And I was like,
Mm.
"Absolutely not. My parents just want me to shut up and look at the screen." My parents
Mm.
just want me to be occupied and like have fun in like the best way. And so you brought up Disney. It's because like we have a lot of family in Florida, so we would go, and we don't go to Disney every year, but we've gone quite a few times. And like we save up and we're gonna go to Disney because
Yeah, girl, I know. I wanted to go to Disney this past summer, but it was like $300. I'm not doing that.
to be fair, I haven't. When was the last time I went to Disney?
I've
It's
never gone, by the way. I've
years.
never gone to Disney.
Shut up. You haven't?
I've never gone to Disney. I mean, like, I've wanted to go, but now I feel like I'm too old to actually go.
Girl, no, this is the golden age of Disney adult. Like golden age.
I'm not a Disney adult though, but I would rather go to Universal, but still, but like, I'm just saying I've never gone.
Universal's fun. Yeah, I think I just like grew up because of my Florida cousins. Like that was the thing they did too. Um,
Yeah.
so it was fun. Like we did have our little luxuries. We didn't have like proper furniture, but we went to Disney every few years.
So transitioning back to education, I know that there was a dear friend of yours that got to go on this Harvard experience with you, also being a DACA recipient.
You call her dear French. If she hears this, she's gonna like roast me. But like, our relationship is very much like if you saw us in like public or hung out with us, you'd think we hated each other. But it's very much like a sisterly relationship. But yeah, her name is Karla, and her and I went to the same. We met in middle school in French class. Like we had the same French class, which is also like a weird French connection. And we both had DACA at the time, and so we grew up like kind of like getting each other. Like we were like the only two of our friends that like had that status. So when we were applying to college, we were like very much on the same mode of like looking at similar schools with similar like requisites because we did a lot of the same stuff, had a lot of the same grades. But I was more on like the artsy like literature side, and she wanted to do like law and government and like history and politics. So it was just like we were talking. I remember being like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna apply to Harvard." She's like, "Me too." And we were just like, "Hey, like the worst thing that happens, like we don't get in, like we'll get in somewhere else." Or like best case scenario, we both get in, and that's what ended up happening. And I am so grateful for that because I think it helped me transition into college life.
No, I think it's wild. I mean, I didn't think both of us were gonna get in anyways. Like that had never happened. Straight up. And remember when we went to like Visitas and the admissions officer was like came up to me and was like, "Oh, where's the other one? Isn't there two of you?"
The way, I mean, it was really funny because I think it came to a point where we both didn't think we were gonna get it. And like I was like dead said, "Oh, me and our other friend are gonna go to Emory together," and you were like, "I'm gonna go to Georgetown or something." And like we were set, and then I think I think I called my mom and my dad first to tell them, and because they weren't home. And then I called you, and you were like, "No, you called me," and you were like, "I got it," and I was like, "Bitch, I haven't gotten into the application yet. Let me see." Um, yeah.
Yeah, I know it was wild, honestly, though, because it's like one of those things where you don't think that happens, but it happened, and I don't know, maybe that's like a one in a million shot, but it happened, so.
Because I mean, our high school's history with Harvard was interesting because it like 3 or 4 years before us that there was another guy also who had DACA who had gotten in from our school, and then the year before us, somebody else who was also Latina had gotten into Harvard, but there had never been like, as far as I know, like two people go.
Yeah, I think like every other year they were like someone got in every other year, but like and it was also just like a huge controversy too because it was like how come both of them got in, you know? Um, which now like at the moment was kind of like I don't even know how at the moment I felt about it, but now like looking back on it, it's kind of funny because like y'all were just salty. Like let's be honest, y'all were just salty.
No, they literally stayed mad. Like, not to
I
be
think there's some of them are still not. It's fine.
like, maybe I do have like a big head about it, but you don't really. But I remember like just being really happy for us, and then people were hating. We were like, okay,
Yeah.
you've never spoken to me before. Like, how would you know?
But
Yes.
even I think people that we did know, we talked about this, people that we were really close to were very, very upset about it. And I like think about it now and it's just like when I remember when we got in, it was like a huge imposter syndrome thing. I was like, oh shit, I'm not like supposed to be here. And like I don't know, like just being there, it's like, oh, like I'm not totally out of like my element here, you know? Like I feel like it took a long time to get there, but like I was just like because some people I feel like that we went to high school with assume that like we weren't the smartest or we weren't whatever, but like I'm just like, no, it took a while to get there, but I mean we got there essentially. We
It's the way we
graduated.
act. Truly, it's the way I acted. And I feel like by association, people lumped you in. And I think it was also that like idea of like the well-rounded applicant or whatever, where like we knew everyone that was applying to Harvard from our high school. And all of them were just very much into like their one thing, like their academics and then like one thing. We were all over the place. Like, why were we running like school organizations for the school while we were like 16, 17, 18 years old?
Yeah, no. I mean, I think in general, like there was a lot of misconception. I don't know if people still care about it, but like even like even among like Hispanic people, like do you remember? You definitely don't remember him, but I went to elementary school with him. His name was Javier, and he was like really nice. And I think he dropped out of school, but like I saw him at like the Tres Hermanos once, and this is right before COVID. I've never seen him after that, but like he came up to me and he's like, "Oh, Carla, remember me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like I remember. We went to elementary and middle school together." And he was like, "Oh, I heard that you got into Harvard. Is that true?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm still a student there." And but it was just one of those things. He was like, "Really?" Like he was just like so confused by it. And But yeah, anyways, I thought it was like, even like, I don't think no one could look at you, you know?
I'll never forget. I feel like for you it was a little bit more believable. But like with me, I remember Miss Stairs, Miss Escaleras, she was one of our guidance counselors, and she would like she knew both of us, but I feel like she always like looked to you to be like the kind of like academic like smart girl, and I was just like kind of there. Why did she think that I was failing classes? Like she thought I was a like failing and like I was gonna drop out of school, and then she's like, "You really surprised me."
No, it's because also you like you were taking some on-level classes, right? And with some of like not like, and it wasn't a bad thing. Like taking on-level classes is not a bad thing, but I think she just assumed that because you weren't on level, that therefore you like weren't the brightest. And like I remember her being an advocate of another student, you know, instead of like you, because she thought that like, oh, there's no way that there's two at the same time, you know, or whatever.
she was she was placing bets on the one she thought was most likely.
I also feel like, not gonna lie, I feel like they did, like the admissions office at Age knew exactly what they were doing, because I knew like, I remember when it was like I was a junior, like I was a freshman or sophomore in high school. I knew someone who was also, you know, Latinx, who like was also in the same things that I was, and she was a much better like, you know, student. Like she was a much better like whatever. And like I actually looked up to her a little bit because I was like, oh, like I really want to be on the path that she is. And I know that she got waitlisted. Like that was a big deal. And like it was like an accomplishment to be waitlisted. She applied early. And I remember thinking, I was like, oh, like if she couldn't even gotten in a couple years ago. Like there's no way we're gonna get in. Like, and I even thought like, oh, they're gonna choose one of us. And like, or if they do, they're gonna choose one of us. But I feel like the one where they met us at the admissions office, they came up to me and they were like, "Where's the other one?" Like, I feel like they knew what they were doing. Like, I mean, I can't speak to what they were actually doing, but like, I just thought it was so interesting. Like, they were like, "We either take one of them or we don't. We either take both of them or we don't take either of all."
Yeah. I feel like after meeting the admissions officer that had looked at our applications, I was like, okay, this makes sense. Like he came because he's like, we have where's the other one? Like, oh, y'all are both here. Like we've been waiting for y'all. We're like, They're like, they both need to be
Interesting.
here. They both need to be here.
Yeah, they were like, they need to know.
Yeah. So that wasn't very interesting.
And she's still pursuing law, by the way, if anyone was curious about that. She did end up sticking to that realm, and she's going through the LSATs right now, and I'm like, good luck.
How's your LSAT studying going? How is it going?
Um, it's good some days, it's bad some days. It's just, I don't know. Like, I feel like it's one of those things that I don't really want to talk about until I'm over with it, because I don't want to put too much pressure on myself. Because like I've talked to my mom about it, and not that she would ever put pressure on me to begin with, but like I do feel like if I tell more people, it's gonna become like a bigger thing, and it's just gonna feel like I'm letting people down if I don't get a certain score. So I'm not. That's why I'm not telling like a lot of people. Like, I'll let you know when I'm done. Like, it's basically how I'm approaching it. I am taking it soon, but we'll see what happens.
You're gonna do good. Like you stressed enough for it, but so yeah,
We'll see. We'll see.
we're gonna be waiting on your score. There's gonna be a Karla's LSAT score reveal video.
No, I literally think I would cry. I think I would cry. I think I would start crying. I think I would just not tell you.
Imagine Karla's score reveal. Just put it in the group chat in invisible ink.
Yeah.
Like we were in high school in Georgia, which like notoriously, they have that policy still to this day. Like the top whatever public colleges, you can't apply if you have DACA, or you can't apply, but they're not going to let you in. There were a lot of stories with the University of Georgia specifically that I heard from people where they would apply being like DACA recipients, and then they would get in, but then the school would be like, "Oh, you're undocumented. Actually, we have to rescind your offer."
No,
It's still true.
that's so true. And honestly, like I'm not on DACA anymore, but I'm so scared. Like my partner ended up applying to UGA for law school, and they got in. They got like an amazing scholarship. But I'm genuinely so scared to apply, because even though I'm not on DACA anymore, just because like UGA specifically is notorious for, like on the undergrad level at least, for like being really, really I would say just racist against immigrant immigrant people, especially like DACA recipients. And I'll say this because like I was like a mentor before for like a under like trying to get into college, and I know that the like if you just like submitted like one thing that was wrong and your parents were undocumented, like you're basically screwed. Like, and so like I'm actually like I know that it's different now for me because I'm going through a different process, or we'll be going through a different process. But I'm genuinely so scared to apply to UGA at this moment. Like I know it's probably worth it for me to still apply, but I also hold a huge grudge against UGA and like Georgia in general because like it just it has never felt fair, and it has like and it's one of those things where I'm paying taxes and it still doesn't feel fair. But anyway, that's my rant against UGA.
Yeah, no, fuck UGA and fuck Georgia Tech. I don't like y'all. And it's like when you're in high school, it sucks because in Georgia, especially like suburbia Georgia, like all your friends are going to tech, all your friends are going to UGA, and you're like, okay, well, I can't go there. Granted, I feel like if I had gone there, I would have hated it to my core. I don't think that would have been my vibe. But it still sucks that you can't because it could be cheaper. And I also don't want to make this like the South is racist because we know that that's like what like it I feel like the systems in the South are racist, but the people necessarily aren't. Like there's so many people of color in the South that just are disenfranchised a lot of times. Um, but no, UGA is racist. And I think that it limited to what we could apply to. So I know, but Emory was like really good actually. Emory and
That's it's a private school, you know.
private. So I think a lot of people get discouraged to if they're in Georgia or like in the South to apply to schools in there. Um, Even though Georgia sucks, there are places you can go if you wanted to stay in the South, or if you wanted to go to the South. Yeah.
I will say though, like I will say just because I remember this, it's not all the schools. I know. I think that's like UNG. Like I think takes DACA people. So there's like other schools within the South, but like the top flagship, meaning like UGA and to an extent, Tech. It honestly to me it baffles me because the way that they make this huge argument about like in-state tuition. It's not even about in-state tuition because I think the Georgia Supreme Court a couple years ruled that they had to like let people in like legit even if it was not in-state tuition, but it's like the system or whatever the government the board of like the Georgia colleges specifically was like no, we don't want to let them in. And also keep in mind that like my like they are students that come in from Florida. I think North Carolina is one of them too, but Alabama, who can apply to be in to like get this waiver for in-state tuition at UJ. So it's not really about like um not letting people in from other states or not letting in people even like citizens because like there's like international students at UGA. It's specifically undocumented people. So it's like and it sucks. And it's just like again one of the reasons why I'm genuinely like I don't want to apply. Like I really am scared to apply because it's like maybe they'll see that I was undocumented and they'll be like, nope, like we don't want you, you know?
It's like the closest they could get to like a segregation of their institution educationally. And yeah, that is my beef with them. And tech too. And I feel like a lot of the people from our school ended up going to tech, which is also like we couldn't even apply to tech.
I mean, girl, it's not like we were gonna get in anyways. So
No,
we didn't have the math skills.
we were not STEM girls, so we were not
Yeah, we did not have the math skills anyways. I'm okay. Tech, I'm okay. You guys can take tech for all I care.
I could keep it. No, but I think then I think Golden Door came in, and so that was also very helpful. It's but because again, the South has like these opportunities. They're few and far between, but like it is still possible to have a community there and like to live in the
You need to look for them. That is my biggest thing.
sometimes I feel like a hypocrite because like I advocate for like no the South, like go live in the South, everybody, it's like so fun. But then I don't live there. I want to go back there eventually. But me and Karla had also done this thing middle school and high school. It's a program called C5 Georgia, and there's C5 branches in other states, but they would take us for free like 1 month out of the summer, and like we'd go to camp, like summer camp and leadership camp.
I wanted to talk about C5 for a second, because whenever I tell people that I went to summer camp, they also think there are these things that I went through that people think I'm rich because I went through them. And no, I just either got lucky or like priorities. You feel me? Yeah, C5 was free all 5 of our years that we went. It was for underprivileged youth. It was so fun. You actually went back as a camp counselor 1 year. I did not.
I didn't go like a full summer. I just did like one of those like cancer and training programs. I didn't go back though. I like actually never went back. But my sister's in there right now.
Which slay. My brother did not get into that, but I think it was like a really fun experience, and like I think that also helped us in college because they were like, y'all are going to college some way somehow.
Yeah, I think there was like a because I feel like a lot of people had like some separation or detachment from like, oh, being home, like this is the first time you're away from home. And like I remember thinking like we even said this, like we're like, this feels like we're at camp. Like this is like, yeah, it's gonna be 2 months, but you know, it still feels like camp.
Yeah.
And I mean, we went to go back. It wasn't like we weren't allowed to go back home. So
Yeah. I also think it was good to have that program, at least for me in doing college, because like my parents were like, they weren't like against college. Like they were just always like, well, you know, you're gonna like, we can't pay for it, and like your situation. So like if you want to go, slay, but it was never like an expectation of me to go. It was just always something that I was like, okay, I'm gonna go. And they were like, okay, we'll support you. And I think I wouldn't have been as serious about college if C5 wasn't there, to be honest.
yeah, and even like I think it got us thinking about it earlier because for me, like even before high school, like I didn't know what college was, neither did my parents, neither like no one that I knew had gone to college. And so, but like I remember even like what was it, like seventh grade or eighth grade, and it was more like, oh, okay, well, I knew straight ahead, like I knew like that we couldn't go to college. For some reason I thought that we couldn't go to college in the US. And so I had like even then I had started thinking like, I'm just gonna leave or self-deport to go study in Mexico, like because that's what I knew people were doing. So I just know that's something that we would have to do. And I think we like talked about this, like I think it was like our eighth grade year. I was like, oh, what are we gonna do for college? Because it's like we didn't know what we were gonna do, but obviously we got more educated and all that. But at the time, it kind of was one of those first things where it was like, oh yeah, college is a thing, and we should probably go to it.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing is that when you're young like that, because when I was in 7th grade, I didn't even think I could get on an airplane because we were both in Model UN together, 7th grade. And I thought that I couldn't go on our New York trip for Model UN because I thought I couldn't go on a plane. And then
No, me neither.
I know. And then realizing we could, and it was so easy. Like after I got the confidence to like travel as much as I do, because that was the first time I think I was on an airplane since like coming here from Mexico. So it was
I was so scared and I had not told anyone. And you knew too, so we were just kind of there hoping that nothing would happen to us. The fact that they still took us though, and I mean, like they didn't know, so how are they gonna know? But the fact that was both of us. Now that I think about it, that was kind of bold because I was scared. I was like I thought that we were gonna get stopped at the what was it, LaGuardia or something, and they're gonna be like, oh, you need to leave or something.
Yeah, no, and I think that like our parents were probably like shitting themselves even more. Like, and I honestly though, I think I know we didn't tell anybody when we went, but I think we still would have been very supported because of like our teacher, Miss Heath Slay. I love her. I love her to this day. She was always so supportive of us, like in any way.
Yeah, but aside, I mean, like yes, shout out to Miss Heath, but I also think like in general that was bold of us to do because we did not say anything to anyone. The only people that knew were us.
We could have ruined the trip.
We could have literally ruined the trip. Like we could have been on the news. I straight up thought that literally like the day before, because I also had not been on a plane before, so I was like, oh, what's it gonna feel like to be in a different city or like have gone to a different place? And I literally remember thinking the day before, like, oh, tomorrow I'm not gonna be here, but I might also not be in this country. Like that literally went through my mind, and I wasn't nervous on the security line or anything, but I was definitely like on the airplane, like not even about like the airplane itself, more like, oh, what's gonna happen when we land? Like I was literally like, yeah, this might not work out for me.
Yeah, no, like I don't think yeah, like I said, that was my first time on an airplane since like even migrating. So, and I don't even remember that. So it was just like a lot happening at once. And it was New York. Like it was actually ended up being really fun. I didn't win anything, but you did, I think, during that trip. Did you win the little gavel? Mm-hmm.
We
And
won like something like best delegate.
yeah, it should have been.
It was fun. It was fun. It was one of the most memorable trips. Like as a middle schooler, that was wild.
And
A
it was
lot of
my
things to
first
do.
time in New York too, or my first time in New York too.
Yeah.
And like since then, I visited New York like every year, and so it was just like, well, all that to say, like, I think that's why I like doing videos and like doing podcasts and like talking about it and being very like transparent of like how I got to do things, because like when you're a kid, you don't know what you can and can't do because it's so complicated on purpose. So when people are like, oh, you did go, like when I did this fellowship, like there were a couple people who were like my cousins or like people who I didn't know who asked like, oh, I didn't know you could go out of the country, like can I? And so like I would help them and explain what advanced, they didn't know what advanced pro was, even though they'd had DACA at the same time as me. So I feel like we like to be guinea pigs of like, let me see if I can do this, and then tell everyone how to do it.
No, no, but that one, now that I think about it, I hadn't thought about this in years, but now that I'm thinking about it, that was wild. Like my mom did not say anything, their parents didn't say anything, I didn't say anything. We were all kind of just like looking around, seeing what happens. Like that one, and we were 14, 13.
We were like 13. Yeah. No, we
I think
must
we
have
were
been
13.
like 12 or 13 because it was like seventh grade. And then
Yeah, no, like that one, no, that one was wild. And now that I think about it, that one's wild.
no, and then cut to ninth grade, we're older and we're going to Wyoming with C5. And I remember,
Yeah.
I don't even think like our parents even picked us up from the airport because it was like they were that scared, like they didn't even think they could pick us up at the airport. So one of our friends, like their parents dropped us off and everything.
Yeah, yeah, it was definitely one of those things where, um, like my mom now picks me up from the airport. She does not give a fuck now. Like
Yeah, now it's
she'll like
like,
run.
yeah.
Yeah, like the other day she was about to run over like one of the security guards too, because like they like because it wasn't her fault. Like they told her like keep going, and then they told her to stop abruptly, and she couldn't stop, and so like the guy started yelling at her. But I was also in the car, and I'm like, you can't just tell her to go and then tell her to stop within like literally seconds, like not even seconds, like an inch of you. But yeah, no. So I'm just like, no, the fear I think has been gone for a while, but it's still there. I mean, obviously it's still there, but it's like a lot of these little fears that just build up over time.
Like I think even both like of our parents have like been on planes since then even and like done stuff. So.
Yeah. No, it's definitely like a different experience now being grown and stuff.
With the lows, I feel like it also just comes with like on-campus surveillance, I would say. I was taking a course with Doctora Lorgia Garcia Peña, but we got like campus police called on us, and we had explained like we had permission to do this, but they didn't believe us. They thought we were protesting or trying to protest. So they were like, we need somebody's like ID as they're like making the police report. And I remember like I gave my ID because the other two people who were working on it with me in my group were like younger. So I was like, oh, I gotta step up. Not, and then I was like, well, shit, I don't know what this means for me, but whatever, like we'll see. And it ended up becoming like this whole thing, and there were a lot of meetings with campus police. And
I feel like after that, like that incident, that was our junior year, I think. Like I remember I went like nonverbal for like 2 weeks. Like no one saw me for weeks, and to the point where my parents could not get in contact with me, and they were like trying to call like you or something after that. Like that was a
I remember. Yeah, I remember. I think that might have been sophomore year, honestly, but I remember it being. Honestly, it's one of those things where it's just like, again, fucking again, like it was like one of those things because I feel like something had happened earlier in the semester to you, and I can't even remember what it was, but it was like such a rough time. And I remember the way that you told me that because I had heard from other people this incident had happened, right? Like I heard, but we didn't know, like back then we didn't know who the students were involved. We didn't know anyone that was involved. And so it kind of just was a thing that happened to someone. And then I think he like told me, I was like, yeah, that was me. And I was kind of like shocked. I was like it was literally again, like it was just like, but I don't remember what ended up happening. But yeah, I think like that whole year, then like the semester just devolved into like protests of like, Garcia Peña's tenure, and it was just, honestly, I felt like that semester was such a shit show.
Oh yeah, and I think that not much came out of it because one, like we didn't know. Well, we were like students. It was 3 students, and 2 of them were like younger than me. And then I think a lot of people were like, oh, you need to make the school like pay for your DACA, like you need to make the school do this, and this. And it was like they were already giving us all this financial compensation. It's like, what do you ask of them to like make it right? And also the officer that did that, when we were having all these meetings, conveniently the officer had just left for vacation or whatever. So we were talking to like the main chief person, and it was just not fun. It was like, again, not much came out of it because none of us wanted to be named at the time, and we were also like students stressed about other stuff, so it just became like we dealt with it internally. And I feel like, I mean, if it happened to me now, I feel like it would have been a different outcome, but like back then it was a struggle.
It's also because like I think it's one thing when you're like a student group or you're like protesting, right? Like in the case of this instance, it was like you had a huge support network in terms of like people collecting or cooperating against the university, right? Seeing like and demanding demands X, Y, and Z as a group, right? It's a different thing when you were by yourself, and it's like you're saying like, yeah, they were already giving us a lot of stuff. They were already helping with DACA fees. They were already providing a lawyer. Like they were doing a lot for us already, but it's also like at the same time was like that treatment. I think in the other students, if I remember correctly, were in a worse position than we were, right? Like some of them didn't even have DACA or something like that. But and it was just like, what else do you want, right? Like it was like I felt like it came out as like, what else do you want? We're already giving you.
I don't think it was like anything, like we weren't charged with anything.
Or well, like, you better know because you guys had permission.
It was literally, we were doing our homework. Like we were literally. Yeah. I think this is the end of the part of the episode where like I talk about anything we did together, so we could probably stop there. But I was wondering if you had any lasting thoughts, overarching feelings.
I think it's pretty good. So pretty good description. Yeah, I mean, like I would just say, I mean, there's not much to say, but I think in general, it was like Harvard was such a unique experience in itself, and then to have to do it with someone else that has almost the exact same background as you is again 1 in a million. And it also kind of feels a little bit, well, obviously nostalgic, but also like, because like I hope to go to school, back to school one day, and it's not going to be, well, you're going to go to law school, or not, you're probably not going to go to law school. And
I don't know. I haven't decided yet.
No, if you do, let me know, and we'll go to the same one again, because I feel like it's.
I'm taking the LSAT with you in November.
Yes, take it with me. Yeah, no, so it's gonna feel. I feel like I started my job by myself, but like, and you did like you went to do your own thing. I was in New York for a bit, and then I'm going to be applying to law school, and it's just gonna feel like if I do end up going, like, oh shit, like Tania's not there, because like I think for so long we've done the same thing that even though it's been years since we've done the same thing, it's still gonna feel a little bit of a shock, I think. And I actually have thought about that a lot, because it's like, oh, like I'm gonna be doing this for the first time by myself. I'm not gonna know anyone. I am not going to, like, like, oh, maybe I'm gonna fuck myself over or whatever,
I think it's also because, like, I feel like even it's been 2 years since we graduated, so it's been technically like 2 years that we've been.
It's been three, ma'am. It's been 3.
2.5.
It's about to be 3. 2.5. Yeah, it's 2.5. It's about to be 3.
It's been 2.5 years since we've done that, and I feel like it was also easier for me here because I moved out again with friends. You lived on your own for a while, like in New York. So yeah, but I mean, if you get into law school in LA and then I move to LA, then we're technically doing the same thing again.
Yeah, I just need to go to class for me though. But yeah, no, I definitely feel like it's a good episode. I don't listen to a lot of podcasts, so I might start listening to this.
That was really fun. I really also like talking about our experiences together, by the way.
Yeah, because I feel like it's a lot of the same, so someone actually knows. But we'll see. We'll see what happens, man.
Okay. Thank you so much, Karla. This was very fun.
Bye. See you later, alligators.
Bye. That's it for our first special episode. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you to Karla for taking a break from LSAT studying to be a part of this episode. And of course, thank you to Vicky for having me on Shot of Truth. There's nowhere y'all can really follow Karla since she's not a social media girl, but y'all should wish her good luck on her LSAT and her law school journey in the comments. And also shout out to the amazing Mayra Sanchez for doing our website development, our logo, our graphics. And she is #open for freelance work, so y'all should check out her portfolio at mayrasanchez.tech. Production and research were done by me, your host, and you can connect with me on Instagram and TikTok at Tania Does, and you can subscribe to my YouTube channel to stay up to date on this series. Stay connected, stay creating beautiful things, and I'll catch y'all in the next episode.